The House by the Androscoggin, Halloween night, 1995. It was the kind of crisp October evening that smelled like burning leaves and cheap plastic masks. I remember because I kept adjusting mine, a crumpled vampire getup I'd outgrown the year before. We were 15, on the cusp of being too old for trick-or-treating, but free candy is free candy, and me, Jake, and Emily weren't about to turn that down. We stuck mostly to the better-off streets in Auburn, the kind where people gave out the good stuff, full-size candy bars, even the occasional soda can. By 9 p.m., our pillowcases were nearly full, and the streets had started to empty. That's when Jake brought it up. "Hey, you guys ever hear about the old house by the Androscoggin?" he asked, tossing a Milky Way into his mouth. "Which house?" I said, wiping condensation off my mask. "The one with the boarded-up windows?" Jake nodded. "Yeah, there's a story. My cousin told me. Said kids go in there on Halloween night and don't come out." I rolled my eyes. "So it's cursed. How original." "No, seriously. There's this legend. They say in the 70s a family lived there. The Barlows. Had a son, around our age. Quiet kid. One Halloween, he lured some trick-or-treaters into the house. None of them were ever seen again. No bodies, no nothing. Just gone." Emily raised her eyebrows. "And they never tore it down?" Jake shrugged. "Too far out. No one wants the land. They say the cops stopped checking it years ago." Of course, we should have left it alone. But we were 15, bored, hopped up on sugar, and chasing the thrill of doing something just reckless enough to talk about at school the next day. So we went. It was at least a mile hike, our flashlights bouncing over the leaf-littered trail that led down toward the river. By the time the roof of the house peeked through the trees, the moon was high, casting silver light over broken shingles and warped wood. The place looked exactly like a haunted house should look. Tilted porch, busted windows, a front door hanging slightly off its hinge like it was exhaling some long-forgotten breath. Jake hesitated. "Maybe we don't." Emily didn't even wait. She stomped up the porch, flashlight in hand, and pushed the door open. "Well, you boys coming?" Of course we followed. Inside, the air was stale and thick with mildew. Our footsteps creaked against rotting floorboards. There were old, dusty picture frames, the kind where the eyes look like they follow you. China dolls sat crookedly on shelves, their porcelain faces cracked like dry skin. We wandered room to room, flashlight beams darting like nervous eyes. Eventually, we found the cellar door in the kitchen. It was the kind with the iron ring handle and the heavy wooden slab that groaned when you opened it. The smell that came up from below was wrong, wet and sour, something that shouldn't have still been there. Jake looked pale. "Dude, we don't need to go down there." Emily, of course, just smiled. "That's exactly why we do." We descended one by one. The basement was even colder than the house. Walls of stone and dirt, the ceiling low and heavy with cobwebs. Old tools hung from nails. A broken rocking horse stood in the corner, one glass eye staring straight at the wall. Then we did the thing you should never do in horror stories. We split up. Emily went right. Jake and I went left. We were only apart for a minute or two when we heard her scream. Loud, sharp, like it got caught in her throat halfway out. We bolted toward her. She was standing frozen, flashlight shaking in her hand, pointed at the far corner of the basement. I'll never forget what we saw. There was a child-sized skeleton propped against the wall, dressed in a half-rotted Spider-Man costume. Candy wrappers still clung to its bony fingers. Around it were others, so many others. Tiny shoes, plastic pumpkin buckets, rusted and decayed. And the wall, and they were covered in scratch marks. Like someone, lots of someones, had tried to claw their way out. Jake backed up and tripped over something, a trap door. "What the hell is this?" It swung open beneath him. He fell hard, disappearing into a black hole with a thud and a cry. I screamed his name. Nothing. Just a soft, wet sound, like something dragging. Then Emily turned to me, calm, too calm. "He's not coming back," she whispered. "What are you talking about? We have to get him." "I didn't think it was real," she said, more to herself than me. But it is. It really is. That's when she smiled, and I saw her teeth weren't hers. They were sharp, yellowed, wrong, like something had borrowed her face. I ran. I don't even remember how I got out of the house, just that the woods seemed darker on the way back, and every sound felt like breath on my neck. I didn't stop until I saw streetlights again. No one ever found Jake. They searched, sure, asked questions, even looked in the house. But by the time anyone got there, it was just a pile of rotting boards, like it had collapsed the second we left. Or maybe it had never been there at all. Emily, she moved away not long after. Her parents said she wasn't herself anymore. I still have nightmares sometimes, of those scratch marks, of Jake's scream. But worst of all, sometimes on Halloween night, I see Emily, or something wearing her face, just outside my window, and she's always smiling.